Hi everybody, I'm Caricature, and welcome back to my creepy Catwalk commentary, the show where I break down and discuss each and every episode of the Boulet Brothers Dragula Season 5. Apologies for not being in like high horror glam drag today like I had originally planned to be, but I was in drag for like 9 hours yesterday streaming, and afterwards waiting for my water softener to reset so I could film this, and it was like 3 a.m. and I said, no ma'am, I need to just go to bed and get these lashes off. So today, you get no lashes. You just get a face. I don't know. I don't really even know what this is. I tried to just play around with stuff. I wanted to go fast with this. It's a busy week. It's only Tuesday, and I'm so tired already. I have so much more to do. I have this video to edit. I have art to finish. I have commissions to work on. I've got a gig to prep for. I've got a fundraising gala this weekend to go to. It's like, this is one of those weeks where I've got something every single day, and a lot of them are in drag to some capacity, but I've been having a lot of really severe bouts of vertigo lately. Friday was really bad, and I had another bout of it this morning. That's mostly gone, but I'm still a little like, today, that this is the vibe today. And it's the reunion. It's not a huge consequential episode. And we're gonna start off this episode by talking about all of the looks from the monsters from this reunion. So first up we have the Boulets. I'm not gonna talk about them a whole heck of a lot because frankly, I did touch on their looks in the last episode of this. I really liked their looks a lot. I think these might actually be my favorite Boulet looks, even though they're very downplayed. I just really like this executive moment from the two of them. I think the silhouette is really nice. I think the cut of the neckline is really pretty, really flattering on both of them. I really like the necklace with everything. The hair is a really good choice. I think they look really nice for hosting this reunion. Done. Let's start off reviewing these looks in alphabetical order. First up, Anaphylactic. Honestly, this was one of my favorite looks of the entire episode. I love this hair. It's very Lady Tremaine. I love the little horns. I think the horns are rhinestone too, which I think is a really cute touch. I really like this fabric choice. I really like the silhouette of this. It feels very her. But I think it's also just like, it's really clean. It's such a simple look, but I don't think you need to do anything super crazy. It's the reunion. You're basically just sitting talking shit. I really enjoyed this a lot. I think there's really smart choices and accessories here. Next up we have Blackberry giving us this sort of Jesus moment, which I'm honestly really here for. I really love the attention to detail of the stigmata points towards the feet on the bottom of this bodysuit. I love a stone bodysuit that the stones are different colors to indicate value shifts. So very here for that. I do think it's very funny. You can see in the photo that like her actual nipples are placed lower than the nipples on the bodysuit. So you see them like protruding underneath. I think it's very silly. I think the necklace choice is really smart to break up where the bodysuit neckline is on her. Love the hair choice. Love the headpiece. The makeup is great as always. I just enjoyed this a lot. I thought it was a very simple look. It's very effective. And I think comparatively, if you're looking at other Jesus looks we've seen on the show, this is one of the best ones we've had, especially for a reunion. And next up we have Cynthia Doll. I hate this hair so much. I get the mullet energy, but maybe it's just the way it's photographed. I didn't notice it as much in the episode that I didn't like it, but it's not doing it for me. I'm not a fan of the single hair that's looped in the bang. I don't think it makes sense with this particular style. Her makeup, great as always, very quintessentially her. She's very stamped, very branded visually, which is always a good thing. Her outfit, on the other hand, I actually really, really like. I think it's a really cute silhouette. The color blocking in particular, I really enjoy. It's a simple look, but again, it's the reunion. It doesn't need to be anything over the top crazy. Also, appreciate the fact that even though she's got a little Club Kid boot moment going on, it's a Club Kid boot with a heel to the platform. So it's not just like the basic Demonia ones that they always hate on. Like the level of sheen on the textiles, both in the garment and the shoe itself, I think is really, really nice because they're the same level of sheen, which it doesn't look really stark. It makes it look like really cohesive from head to toe. So I really enjoy that part of it. Okay, next up we have Fantasia Royale Gaga. Loved this hair. I was not a fan of her makeup. I just did not think it was the most flattering shape, at least from like the position she was shot at. In this photo, I don't think it is as bad, but not that the makeup is bad, I just don't really like the eye shape on her that much. I do appreciate the illusion of the glowing red eye, especially when her eyes were shut, and I think it's a really stark shape to go with the stark shapes of the silhouette. The wings on this, I I'm torn on because I like the shape of them. I like where they're placed and the framing of it. I really like the stoning along the edges, but where the lines come up, they're just straight. They're not, there's no curve to them. So I don't think that that is really all that successful, and I wish that those lines just weren't there. I think if the lines had just been gone all together and it was the flat red with the black stone ombre into the red, I think the wings would have read a little more successfully. The outfit itself, again, fine. Nothing crazy, nothing to write home about. I think it is a flattering silhouette on her. I do like that there's an element of movement with the fringe on the skirt. The boots, they're okay. They're not my particular favorite, but they do go with the look. And again, similar to Cynthia's, the level of sheen between the garment of the fabric and the garment of the shoe is consistent. So I like that part a lot too. Jewelry, also a fan of. So it's still dark and kind of Dragula-y. It reminds me of like early Boule Dragula looks, which I am very here for. I think the real star of this though is the hair. I love the hair. I love the split, the double horn moment. I don't think the horns are as successful on her look as Jay's. I really love the little finger wave situation. It's still very her. It's very classic in terms of silhouette, with like a little bit of a twist. So I like getting to see this sort of marriage of her aesthetic with the Dragula brand sort of aesthetic as well here. And speaking of more successful hair horns, we have JK. I wish the bodysuit was more interesting visually, but the coat, love. The boots I think are really cute too, and I love the tail wrapping around the body. I think it creates some really fun visual interest. The hair in this is amazing. And again, Jay consistently has one of my favorite makeups out of the entire cast. This is one of the best mugs of the night for me, if not the best mug of the night. And just, it looks so great on camera. Jay really knows how to paint for film and TV and just being camera ready at all times, knows how to pull faces, knows where to position themselves, and is just like made for TV. So I was excited to see them back. And this is definitely, at least from the neck up, and like if you eliminate the bodysuit, is one of my favorite looks of the episode by a long shot. I just think this looks really, really nice. I think if the bodysuit had maybe been in a different material or had been just black with red embellishments, I would have liked it more. But overall, this is still another really strong look and one of the best looks of the reunion, in my opinion, even though I don't really care for the bodysuit that much. Alrighty, next up we have Jarvis Hammer. This look is very much giving me Grandpa Munster in the best way. Again, Jarvis is another one of those folks in this competition who consistently has one of my favorite makeups just to get into. There's so many smart line choices here, really smart shapes, and it really transforms their face in a really fun way. For me, the real star of this outfit, though, obviously is the coat. I love the pattern on the textile. I love the fabric choice. I really like the trim on the sleeves and the lapel. The giant inverted cross brooch that's like basically a stake, I think is a really nice touch for this vampire moment. I wish we would have gotten to see more out of Jarvis because I think the rest of the looks would have been so fun to see, but more on that later, mayhaps. Okay, next up we have New Hulu X. I did not like this at all. Easily the weakest look she's presented in this entire competition. Granted, I know it's the reunion, so it doesn't really matter. I just don't think that this outfit is super flattering on her. I hate a gown that doesn't touch the floor. For something like this where you see the full look, I just think it's a weird cut. I just don't really think that this outfit is anything to write home about. I don't think it's visually interesting. I just don't really care for it. Her makeup, on the other hand, with the rhinestone loose hairs mixed into the makeup throughout, I think looks really cool. However, on camera, up close, it looks really stark because there's not that rhinestone consistently into the actual hair itself. I think had she done something to bring the stones into the hairline, just to make it all more unified, it would have been a little more successful for me. For me, this is just an okay look. It's not really anything super present. It's not anything that's super memorable. And I think that it can, we'll get into this in the reunion discussion too, but I think this outfit is very reflective of the amount of screen time she gets in this episode, because she is next to nowhere. Okay, next up we have Onyx on Dix, and this is what I wish we would have seen more of during the show. I think the prosthetic, even though you can still see the prosthetic seams up close of the pulled skin on the head, I think the effect of this, the illusion of this, is really effective. I think it's really successful. I love the headpiece. I love this idea, this like kind of weird sacrilege, kind of Hellraiser priest moment. I think this is a really successful look. Onyx's makeup, the more I see it, the more it becomes one of my favorite faces in the competition as well. It's like my exact sort of style with eye shapes and just like the sense of scale. In my preseason video, I said I hope she went home early because I was kind of scared as a viewer to see what she was going to do to her body. Seeing what she would have worn over the season in retrospect, but also seeing more of her personality in this reunion, I know for a fact she would have been one of my favorites. I wish we would have gotten to see a little bit more of her. I wish she would have gotten to stay a bit longer. Okay, next up we have Orgotic. I actually quite like the bodysuit moment here. I think it's one of the more interesting pieces that they've worn over the season. I don't really like the gloves. I don't like that they're just kind of mishmashy, but this is just like another red and black look from Orgotic with fleshy skin detailing with this prosthetic. I really don't like the giant rabbit ear moment of this, and I think the more the season has gone on, at first I was really excited to see what Orgotic was going to do because I had never seen anybody who kind of lives in this visual world so consistently, and as the season has gone on, it's another Orgotic look. I'm not particularly excited to see what they're going to deliver in the finale because I know it's going to be 3 red, black, and skin tone looks that are going to sort of have the same texture, the same shoes, the same silhouettes, more than likely. Like, it's just not going to do anything for me. So this to me is just like ho-hum, kind of like Neo's. It's nothing crazy, nothing super exciting, but they were there. They were at the reunion, indeed they were. Next up we have Satana. I don't understand what the trumpet skirt is doing here. I don't know if it's just the way it's positioned in this photo or if there is some sort of structure to make it stick out like that. But either way, I don't think this photographed very well, and I don't think that the dress is really anything exciting. I get that she's doing this sort of evil Virgin Mary idea. That's kind of fun, but the head covering fabric is just a piece of fabric, and I don't think that the silver of this dress is all that flattering of a color with the blonde hair and the red eyebrows. There's a lot of things going on here that I don't think go together. If there was more red in the dress, I don't think I would have been bothered as much by it. I get that she wants like the baby to stand out. I get that she wants the accent colors to really pop, and they do. But unfortunately, they're popping against a dress that is just like a dress. And I understand why she was put in the back row. This look is just not visually interesting. I do appreciate the point of view she's coming from as an artist, and I think the other looks that I've seen her do off the show are better than the looks she's done on it. And last up, we have Throb Zombie. Now, I've made it no secret that I don't like Throb Zombie. I'm just not a fan of their past behavior from what I understand and what I've heard from folks who know Throb personally. I'm just also not a fan of what we see of Throb as a person on the show either. I do understand there are some people who are confused by this look because Throb, throughout the competition, has posited themselves as a drag king, but there's been a couple of times where they've dipped into the feminine pool when it comes to their drag, and I really appreciate that when they do more femme presenting drag, they try to go a little more monstery with it because of what femininity as a concept means to them. I think Throb is a very interesting artist in terms of where they pull from for references and their point of view as an artist, and I really appreciate that and their level of craftsmanship. However, the only thing I like about this look tonight is the makeup. I really like the hair, but I don't think really any of these elements of the look go together all that well. It's a basic slip dress, it's nothing crazy. You can tell in the shots of them sitting on the couch, the top of the dress is not really well fitted to their body, so it looks kind of frumpy while seated. It doesn't look as bad here in the photo, I will give them that at least. I didn't really like the drapey glove bit. I didn't think that was necessary. I don't know, I just think there were one too many ideas. I think had the dress been black, it would have worked more because it would have been black with the red accents, but I understand that like this reunion called for red garments. Not my fave. Okay, well, now that that's out of the way, let's get into the actual reunion itself. So, we start off with the opening scene prior to the opening credits, and it is just literally the trailer that they put out earlier last week. It's a very different position for them to present this reunion compared to earlier seasons. And to me, as somebody who really enjoyed the very self-contained Dragula universe they were creating, it felt like a very high concept presentation style for the reunion, where they would line up the dead bodies of the monsters from their death scenes and then to resurrect them all for one night only just for this special reunion, I think was more interesting. I really liked that part of it. It felt like this was the point of view that the Boulets had as creatives. At that point, they were not like the directors of the show, so they had less creative control than they do now. And when they have more creative control, they basically set the reunion up like a Real Housewives reunion, where you see them getting ready, you see the behind the scenes, them talking about their anticipations of the day and things they want to talk about, people they're excited to see or not excited to see. That's it. That's how they presented this opening. This really signified this new chapter of Dragula that started with this season, that Titans and even season 4 are really starting to bridge the gap towards, is that Dragula is no longer this kind of high concept project through the lens of a reality TV competition. It is now a reality TV competition first and a vehicle for queer artists to deliver their art second. And I'm not a fan of that, personally. I think the earlier seasons had this sort of fun veil between reality TV show and a horror film that I personally really enjoyed. I know a lot of other people did too. And as the years have gone on and the show's gotten bigger and bigger and got onto Shudder and gotten more eyes on it, it's become more reality TV. And that magic veil of a reality TV competition disguised as a horror film is now gone, and now it's a reality TV show with horror film elements. To me, this reunion really put that final nail in the coffin. I think that's just sad. It's disappointing to see. What's not disappointing though is that, unlike my prediction in the last review, they were going to cut somebody at this reunion, it's officially a top 4, and Blackberry, Orgotic, Nia Hulu, X, and Throb Zombie will all be moving on to the finale and presenting whatever the finale floor show has in store for them. So, like I said before, if it was truly going to be a top 4, I am 1,000,000% Team Blackberry, and I cannot wait to see what she does. I'm so excited to see what she's going to bring for these 4 shows. If they do the classic ball format of 3 categories, they'd show Cynthia in the woods having this dramatic as hell but quite camp death scene where she's just acting a fool, having fun, and the Boulets thought that they broke her on the first day. They show that clip in full. And what stood out to me about that point is that on the Boulets podcast, they talk quite a bit about how they don't like repeating themselves across the show, and they don't like repeating themselves across media. What's the point of watching the show if you're gonna tell all the details of the show in the behind the scenes stuff? So for me, I didn't see the point of bringing that up other than to show the clip and just have a laugh. It's an issue of picking one or the other. Either show it in the reunion and let it have that moment with the cast where it's funny and lighthearted before all the drama sets in, or keep it for the additional content in the podcast, because having it in both things to me is a little redundant. They are then all asked how they felt the Boulets were as directors, which to me kind of felt like a leading question, because they then also set it up with well, be careful what you say because we haven't decided who wins. I know that's them being tongue-in-cheek, but it also kind of felt pointed. The more I watch this show, especially this season, the less I like the Boulets themselves. To me, this just felt like them taking a couple minutes to basically have the cast stroke their egos and just praise them and have them tell the audience how incredible they are. I will say, I did prefer much of the floor show presentations this season with them at the helm. Or at least early on, we got to see the looks in full, we got to see all the details with the 360 turnarounds. I wish that had been utilized a little bit better as the season went on, because I noticed it getting used less and less. That was disappointing to me. As an artist, if I was in a competition like this and the people at the helm were constantly saying, turn this way, look over here, pose like this, do that again, don't do this, because they're wanting you to be showcased at the best level possible, I think that at least was fairly consistent across everybody, because there weren't really duds in the presentation that we saw. Their hands-on approach with that was effective at least, so I will give them props for that. Fantasia is then asked about the doubts that were put against her by other people in the competition regarding whether or not she was a monster. She's known for doing high glam, but she doesn't get to do stuff that really pushes her creatively. And this show did allow her to tap into a new side of herself, a side of herself she doesn't get to use that often, and she approached the competition in that manner of, how can I be creatively challenged going into this process and this experience? How can I use this to grow as an artist? I think that's how I would approach a competition like this, but I think that's a very respectable position to be coming from. We then get a look at their audition videos. We get to see some of the public acts. You see Cynthia going to a gas station in Missouri and asking for a crack pipe. Onyx's public act of being a pregnant nun offering cigarettes as the body of Christ to people on the street is so funny to me. She just is goofy, and I love that. And again, this is the personality that I really ended up falling in love with her, and I wish we would have gotten to see more out of her because of it. Because I just think she's really endearing and really engaging as a character. She just tickled me. We also get to see a couple of moments when people found out they were cast on the show, and by a couple, I mean literally a couple. We see mostly Neo's reaction and a little bit of Orgotic's. I will say Orgotic with this little mustache, very, very cute. Seeing people thirst over Orgotic online, I really didn't get it at first, and then I saw this clip and I said, oh, maybe I see it now. Hey. They just looked really cute. I thought it was a cute look on them. But one thing I did notice, we saw absolutely nothing out of Orgotic's audition tape. And we see in this segment absolutely zero anything from Blackberry at all. I went back and watched it a couple of times just to see if there was a split-second cut, maybe. Nothing. None of Blackberry's audition tape materials or reactions to being cast on the show made it into this package. Really do not like the fact that they've showcased every single person's audition package in this. Even if it's just a little bit, because like Satana doesn't get a lot here, she gets more of it later. They don't show anything of Blackberry. This is one of your finalists. That just feels like a massive oversight on the production side of things. And I cannot believe that they put that segment together, put it in the episode, edited the show, and like just didn't catch that Blackberry's not in that segment. Choices were made there. We get another little moment with Onyx talking about her journey on the show, and she comes out as a trans woman, another T-girl for the T-girl horde. We love to see it. Welcome to the fam, diva. It was a very sweet moment and made me very happy as a viewer. So after Onyx's segment, they moved to Satana. To me, this segment with her felt like a huge setup for a sec. They show more of Satana's audition tape talking about how she's really bitchy, she's gonna read everybody, she's gonna be providing, you know, drama and stirring the pot, causing arguments. She'd be a great fit for the show because of that. And then once she got to the show, she was quite subdued and didn't really do much of that. And then as she's talking about like how nice the support felt from everybody and how she felt welcomed and loved, and she felt like she didn't need to be antagonistic. Then the Boulets pivot this conversation to a question of, well, do you think everybody likes each other here all the time? Do you think everybody genuinely really likes each other, really wants to support each other? Or do you think people are leaving their opinions unsaid? And it turned into almost like a scolding moment from Swan about how they noticed this season that the cast was editing themselves because they're afraid of fan backlash. This just felt like a whole long Jeremy Bearimy timeline to get to them shitting on everybody for being socially polite and then keeping their real opinions into the confessionals, because they then say that by them playing nice in person and then saying stuff in the confessionals when they're alone or not really giving their full opinions of people to their faces, it makes them all look duplicitous. This felt more like reality TV producer Boulets talking and not the Boulets as people talking. I don't think it's wrong to want to have a good banter and a good like in the room working relationship with people. And they still argued a lot this season. They still fought quite a bit this season. So them saying, well, it makes you all look fake because you don't tell everybody your opinion unfiltered 100% of the time, to me is them saying, we didn't get enough drama out of you. We didn't get enough arguments. We had to pull teeth to get you to fight with each other. Correct me if I'm wrong. Either the Boulets or past contestants have said that they are told to watch by production, historically, shows like Bad Girls Club and Real Housewives. They're told to watch reality shows with lots of drama and fighting because that's the energy they want on the show. They want the messiness, again, because they're out to make a good TV show first and showcase and platform queer art second. It just felt weird. Like, it felt like such an odd thing to say, which then starts a conversation between Jay and Cynthia about how Cynthia has always been very direct. If she has an opinion about somebody, she'll say it to their face and then go say it in the confessional. And Jay commends Cynthia for it and says, I respect you more than I respect a hell of a lot of the other people in this room because of that. And as Jay is saying this, there's this like dramatic sound effect and like a jump cut and a zoom to Throb's face, and I lost it. That's fantastic editing. I will give the editing team that point there. So funny, because that was exactly my issue with Throb. I guess the Boulets do have a point, at least with Throb, that Throb would say stuff in the confessionals and then act completely differently with people in the room. My issue with Throb was that Throb acted completely differently in the room with the same people from week to week. So Throb just flat out was duplicitous almost the entire season. We then get these like break scenes that would be the commercial stingers for Real Housewives. But this is a show on a streaming platform that does not have ads. So them saying, we're gonna take a quick little break and then we'll be back with more of the reunion. What was the point? I enjoyed them, don't get me wrong. The issue that I have with that is that with the Boulets at the helm of the show, this season has felt more than anything like them making their show Drag Race. Them cementing themselves as the RuPauls of alternative drag, with them making the creative decisions to pivot the show closer to Drag Race more than ever this season, and then making the creative decisions to pivot the reunion style to be more like a Real Housewives reunion. I get that they're Real Housewives fans. They're very vocal about them being Real Housewives fans. I'm a Real Housewives fan too. I said it in episode 4 that this season feels like a bad attempt at trying to make their own version of Drag Race. This reunion felt like a bad attempt at making their own version of a Real Housewives reunion. And it's like there's a set formula and a set structure that works for both of them. For the Real Housewives reunions work the way they do because of the fact that it's usually multiple parts, for one thing, and two, that it's actually airing on television. So you have those moments of like, okay, we have to have a transition for an ad break. There's no need for that here. Honorable mention to this quote from Onyx. It's hard being a horse girl, but boy, I do my best. I lost it as a fellow horse girl. I felt so seen, and it was another moment where I thought, God, I wish Onyx would have lasted longer in the season, because if she's gonna say things like that, the point about her nail falling off in the toilet, she's one of those people I could just listen to her talk all day long, because the stuff that comes out of her mouth is gold. I will give the Boulets some credit here also, because one thing they do really successfully with how they pivot the conversation, primarily it goes from contestant to contestant in order of elimination. And then it moves to Jarvis after this first little break. There's this really, I think, very important conversation about Jarvis's mental health, dealing with crippling anxiety, going into a process that is as anxiety-inducing as a reality show, especially one like Dragula. And I think that Jarvis being so open about being in therapy, being on medication, and how much that has helped their situation for both parts, I think is a very important conversation to have on television in any capacity. And I think it's going to ultimately do a lot for people. And it's going to make an impact. I think Jarvis should be really commended for doing what he did and getting as far on the season as he did. The Boulets, though, have been very vocal in the podcast about how much they love Jarvis, how consummate of a professional Jarvis is, and how much they would like to work with him again in the future. They've also been very vocal on the podcast about how they don't really want to do a Titans 2 this potentially means that we'll get Jarvis on season 6. And if that's the case, we ride at dawn Team Jarvis, because I will be firmly in that camp. So I hope that Jarvis is able to get to a place where they feel comfortable enough with their anxiety for them to take the plunge and go for this again. For me as a whole, this season kind of killed my love of Dragula. If Jarvis comes back for season 6, I'm more than happy to come back for season 6 as well, because I will come back for Jarvis, because he is one incredible artist and high concept character that I immensely enjoy and I can't get enough of, and I would love to have him on my television as long as possible, haunting the airwaves. The conversation then moves on to Anna, specifically about her conflict with Blackberry and how she felt about being told she was too quiet for the competition. And even though Blackberry had just connected with Satana more and was just saying like, I wish my friend was here because I think she had more to show based on what I know of her. That's one thing, and I think it was their conflict was ultimately down to like a miscommunication. I think Anna being upset because she felt like they were saying in a way, indirectly, to other people, that she did not deserve to be there. After she's worked as hard as she has to get her drag to where she has, and she's had the career that she's had, is incredibly hurtful and very personal. And the drag is such a personal art form that I think it's very understandable to come out of that interaction feeling that way. But I think that they had a fine resolution, and I hope that everything is good with the two of them, because I like Anna a lot and I like Blackberry a lot, and I want them to get along and be friends. And then basically the rest of the reunion at this point then focuses on Jay, because Jay was the drama. This point of the show, I was a little exhausted with all of the back and forth. So let's just break this down. Cynthia and Jay, I think, like I said at the beginning, felt like they were too similar of people to really get along. But I think as the season went on, Jay tells Cynthia that she's one of the few people that like made Jay feel comfortable enough to come to them and talk. And it made Jay feel like Cynthia was one of the few people who took the time to get to know Jay, to get to know what was going on with Jay and understand Jay as a person. And that's why they have a very contentious relationship, but they have a very genuine one. And I really liked that. I thought it was very nice to see that moment of them being able to like, yeah, they butt heads sometimes, yeah, they argue and they bicker, but I think that's just their personalities. And at the end of the day, they have a lot of respect for each other as people, and a lot of respect for each other as artists, and I think that was just really sweet to see. Jay also then confronts Throb over the exact same thing I brought up in episode 6, where it felt like Throb was originally being very nice, being very genuine, and then 2 episodes later, turned the whole thing around and was like, nope, I don't want you here, I want you to go home, get out of here, goodbye, you're not my friend, I'm nobody's ally, I'm not here to help anybody, I'm just here to focus on myself. And then the next episode turned around and was giving pointers and advice to a frontrunner in the competition. And then the week after that one was shown helping the same frontrunner like maneuver on stage because she couldn't walk in her outfit. I don't know if Throb was just trying to kiss ass. I don't know if Throb was what game Throb was trying to play with that. It just felt really odd to say one week, I'm not helping anybody, I'm only here for myself, and then the next week be actively giving advice who came to them asking for support that ultimately got them the win. I think Throb and the Boulets are very like much 3 peas in a pod, because they all talk out of both sides of their mouth consistently throughout this season. I appreciated the fact that Jake called that out. They did have a little back and forth. It seemed like things kind of came to a resolution, which if it did, great. However, the thing that really bothered me is that throughout this episode, when Throb is in a point of conflict with somebody, Throb goes into this sort of like, I'm a little baby, oh, like it just, the whole I'm both baby and daddy comment was so cringe, and the voice and tonality of Throb during those scenes is like, well, whatever do you mean? Or I'd like to clarify that. There were times where it felt to me, just personally, a little reminiscent of the Monsters of Rock cauldron of season 4, where Mary is complaining about Sigourney as a leader, and Sigourney turns and goes, well, what would you have had to offer? It felt like Throb was trying to throw that voice, that personality, but it felt like an act and not genuine like Sigourney's did. There's criticism about microaggressive behavior against some of the Black cast members this season, and every single time it's been danced around by the Boulets, by the fandom. It's always written off as, well, if you were criticizing Throb, then you're just being misogynistic. No. I'm not frustrated with Throb because of Throb's assigned sex at birth. I'm frustrated with Throb because they act a particular way that I don't like. The way Throb navigated conflict in this episode just sat weirdly with me. And it just felt very passive-aggressive, and it just made me like Throb less than I already do, which is an accomplishment on Throb's part, I suppose. I don't know. I just didn't like it. Hard to put into words, but I just did not like it. At least, like, with the way I'm feeling currently, it's hard for me to really voice how I felt about it in a way that is accurate, and a way that is concise, and a way that makes sense to other people. But I just didn't like it. Point blank, period. And I think that's all I need to say. Jay essentially also resolves basically issues with most people from what we see, which is nice. I really appreciated Jay and Fantasia's conversation, closing the book on that whole debate. Throughout this episode, Orc and Neo have both been very quiet. Basically, no screen time, which I appreciate that they're focusing more of the conversation to people who were eliminated earlier on, because then we get to see more of them, more of their personalities, and I think they're very effective in that, instead of focusing on the frontrunners. The only time we really hear Neo say anything outside of her blowing smoke up the Boulets' asses about them as directors is during this instance of an anonymous question from the cast of, who do you think would stab you in the back? When Orgotic is directly asked to answer the question, Orc says Neo. So then the cast is like, oh, there's drama in Lover's Paradise. Let's talk about that. What happened with the two of you? Because you were very close during filming this season. And both of them just sit there like, it happened. What happened, happened. That's it. Nothing more to say. Which, to an extent, I can respect the want for privacy, wanting to, like, keep whatever happened between them. Because, frankly, it's really nobody else's business what happened between them. However, at the same time, they were so heavily featured throughout the season as this blossoming monster couple. So, the resolution of their relationship being that it ended up being where they don't talk to each other and it's contentious for some degree of a reason, and they're just not going to talk about it or address it at all, and they just skate on past it like it's nothing. As a viewer, it has no resolution, it has no payoff. So you're building up this blossoming romance all for it to just be like, nope, it's done. I only have a couple of points left to talk about for this reunion, but I think one thing that really was a shining moment that, like, I left this reunion feeling a moment of, like, genuine joy. It warmed my little heart when I watched this, was this fan question for Fantasia, asking her if she thought Blackberry deserved to be in the finale over her. And Fantasia says that Blackberry does. She gives Blackberry a lot of credit as a bearded queen. It was a really sweet, emotional moment from the two of them. And there's this shot of Swan as Fantasia is, like, giving Blackberry her flowers. And I think it is one of the few times throughout the history of the show where I feel like we are seeing, like, genuine joy and happiness from Swan. Really from either Boulet. It just feels like a real moment that she's having, just like as a viewer. Like, that's how I felt watching it, and I really enjoyed it. It was probably my favorite moment of the entire reunion. And then the final four are asked about you know, why they think they should win the competition. Blackberry gets a pretty long moment to say why she deserves to win. Throb gets an even longer one. And then Neo and Orgotic's answers are very short, very simple, very concise. Especially Neo's. I felt like just the way this reunion was structured, it feels like they're setting up a win for Throb. I really hope that's not the case. Really hope that's not the case. But if it's anything like Titans, towards the end of the season, it really felt like they were setting up a Coco winner storyline, only to give it to Victoria at the very end. I would be okay with them setting up a Throb winner storyline if the fake out is that Throb doesn't win. Blackberry is my top choice. I think objectively, it's gonna go to Neo. Neo is a visual, technical, and conceptual artist on a similar level to Victoria Elizabeth Black, in my opinion. She is an incredible artist, even though I don't like her. I think she would make sense as the winner. And that is a wrap on this reunion. I can't wait to see what the monsters turn out for this finale next week. And again, after next week's finale, that is going to be it for Creepy Catwalk commentary. It's gonna be finally over, and then we'll move on to new projects, and I can't wait. This has been one heck of a season. It's been one heck of an experience making this show every week. So thank you to everybody who's tuned in each and every episode for however long you stuck around for. And I hope you're all excited for this new Very Slay era and new episodes of Very Slay coming every Monday. As always, if you enjoyed the recap, if you enjoyed the reactions, or whatever you've liked about my content, feel free to please click that lovely little subscribe button. Every single one of you that does helps. Roughly 2/3 of my audience are not subscribed to me, and if you all drop that sub, I think we could realistically maybe hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. I would love to see that happen. If you want to send a little digital tip my way, my PayPal and Venmo are in the description as well to support the content financially and directly, but there's obviously no obligation to do so. I'm going to rapid fire show you my haunted house play along look, both with and without the blacklight effects, along with my drag kaiju. There is going to be no look for this reunion. However, get excited, because if they do this 3-look format, then you've got 3 looks to look forward to in next week's episode. And let's just say we're going to be going botanical for all 3. So I hope you're all excited to see them. If you want to check out the art as soon as it comes out, be sure to go follow me on Instagram and go see it all over there. Hopefully you enjoyed the episode. I hope you're ready for this finale next week. And until next time, y'all, stay kind, stay queer, and until we meet again, toodle boo!